let's get to load balancing. And unfortunately, we're kind of getting close to the end of time here. So I'm going to kind of move through these things a little bit quicker. But like I said, there's tons of information on this already. So I would definitely encourage you to check that out. And we kind of covered a little bit of this earlier. Hopefully you guys will have the information that you need. We'll also be having some talks about SocketBox at ITB this year. So if you're interested in more about this, you could definitely pick up the virtual ticket and tune into some of those. I think Eric is going to be doing that one. So that'll be really excellent. So when you're load balanced, WebSockets can be a little bit tricky because you're getting a specific WebSocket connection to a server, but the data or the events that you're listening to may be happening on other servers. So you have to route those together. Also, you could run into a situation where the specific server you're listening to goes down and then your WebSocket connection has to recover. And if your WebSockets are set across multiple servers, you're going to have trouble getting the clients to be able to communicate to each other because they're kind of sandboxed to their specific server. So the way that we handle this is with built-in cluster support. Brad has built in a way for you to have a shared cache provider. And you basically just have to, it's kind of like a duck typing thing where you have to basically just provide something that has like get and set functionality. And then that's going to be able to work as your cache. So this is the simplest, I think probably the most common implementation that I think that people will be using when they implement SocketBox. And that is using a CacheBox cache. This has been working really great for me in production. I've had zero issues with it. And this makes it really simple to swap out different types of cold box caches for your SocketBox cache. So you can see here, we configure a secret key, which the WebSocket servers need to communicate with each other. If you remember, I mentioned that they actually create WebSocket connections to one another to coordinate their state. And they need this secret key in order to be able to do that securely. So just make sure that you distribute your secret key to all of them. And this can just be like a GUID or something like that. And then here for cache provider, you can see I'm doing application.wirebox get instance, targeting the cache box provider and getting out a cache that I've configured in the cold box configuration. Usually this ends up being like a Redis cache, but it can be a database one, it could be a file, whatever you want. There are other options for this. If you want to write your own cache provider, it's actually easier than it sounds. You should definitely check out, this is the blog post about deploying behind a load balancer. You can just Google that or look at the links in the chat and you'll be able to see some examples that I've added to that blog post. All right, so we've reached the end of our webinar. Here's a couple of extra resources that I want you guys to be able to have. We've got an example repo, github.com, jbeers, SocketBox intro. You can pull this down and mess around with it. I've taken a lot of care with this. So if you look at the Git history, I've created tags that go along with the different blog posts. So if you're reading Hello WebSockets, you can clone SocketBox intro, switch to the tag for that blog post, and follow along. Same with these other ones. I'll also draw attention to the deploying behind a load balancer one. In this repository, there's actually a working code setup that allows you to run 2 command box servers and have them in cluster mode together with WebSockets. So you can see that in action and copy and paste it if you need to.